There are so many issues now. Years ago it used to be specific to individual workplaces. Now it's continual across the board, where it's safety issues. It's about being defined by people outside of our workplace, and we're having people who are not involved in nursing telling us what's right, what's wrong. It's about work-life balance. We don't have any anymore. It's about added hours, added stress with less money, which affects our whole entire life.
I think everybody's worried about their jobs. I think that's the biggest, I believe that's what it's all coming down to. Mm-hmm. It's just everybody's worried. With the budgets coming down and the hospitals keep telling us that there's no money, it's just everybody's trying to fight for their jobs.
The biggest commonality from all the people that have RPNs employed in them is the violence. It's excessive. You know, we hear on the news the violence in mental health. We hear the violence in other places, but no, it's everywhere. Like, we're facing it hands-on day to day.
Well, I think then on a secondary note, which I think actually they're all tied together, health and safety, is the issue of job security. I mean, I heard that theme arose today time and time again from all across the sectors, even in the corrections sector. So to hear that, you know, there's a decline maybe of regulated health professionals and particularly registered practical nurses, that's a shock to me.
I think it's the workload, the patients, right? So on a day shift, you're one nurse for 194 inmates. So if 194 of them take medication, you're handing out medication for not 15 minutes, not half an hour, it's like an hour or longer, right? And we pre-pour, which I don't like, because we're pre-pouring for another nurse to administer medication that I have poured, which is not best practice, right? So, but supposedly it's fine.
The scope of practice, and I'm going to use that term scope of practice because that's how it's defined in the legislation. The scope of practice for RNs and RPNs is actually the same. There is no difference. They have a shared scope of practice under the legislation, and it came into effect in the mid-90s under the Regulated Health Professions Act. We moved from the RNA Act to the Regulated Health Professions Act, and we came under this umbrella.
As per the College of Nurses, that level of care is to be defined at point of practice. But yet now in this government and in this environment, we have both the RNAO and we have politicians that are now going to dictate what level of care is, which contravenes our regulatory body.
The negative information they get from the colleges, not just the College of Nurses, from the colleges, from the teachers who are RNs, well, they're RPNs, they're just runners. You know, they're gonna come to you and say, oh, do this for me, do that for me. Like, that's limiting. You're not asking me how much I know. And then you have the RPNs who was grandfathered and who's been here till the end of time, who knows everything, even more than the doctors. But they can't apply those skills because you're limited. So the language has to change. We are a nurse. We are a strong body of nurses, and we tend to pay more attention to our clients.
I hope that this meeting pulls together the RPNs within OPSEU and that we organize and create movement towards our goals of being more recognized for the skills that we deliver every day. I hope that it gives a bit of a passion to those who are here to take back to their work sites, to their locals, and then to their communities about what RPNs do.
One thing we need to do, get our own separate college. We need to go after the Regulated Health Professions Tribunal with a proposal for the RPNs to be separated from the College of Nurses, and so that we'll have a college for the RNs and a college for the RPNs, and the RPNs will have their own voice. Ontario is the only jurisdiction in Canada where the RNs and RPNs are within the same college. In the other provinces, the RPNs have their own self-governing legislation and have their own colleges. We need that here in Ontario for the RPNs to have a strong voice.
We need to start advocating to the younger generation. We need to start advocating to our younger members, getting them interested, getting them involved, finding ways to include everyone, bring them all into one big group so that we're not divided based on generation. People need to start paying attention, and the only way we can do that is by getting everybody involved all at once.
I think strong language for our collective agreements and needs to be separate from maybe the other pieces or players that are in our collective agreement as well. Not downplaying anybody else's role that's covered under our collective agreements, but I think the RPNs need separate language because we have to have the skills, because we have to have, you know, CPR, we have to have these things that are mandated as well. We need to have them, but I think we need strong language that reflects all of those pieces as well.
I think these events are important for us to ensure that RPNs are well represented within our union. We need to make sure that as RPNs we support one another and that we are advocating for our position.